Hi guys, welcome back. So this is another quick video in this series where I'm using RStudio. I'm using the R programming language to conduct data science tasks and do some sort of data analysis. So I'm still creating a series of videos that are just the basic things you really know to get started with tidying data, wrangling data using RStudio. So the last few videos I've talked about a number of different functions that help us to manipulate our data, to tidy it up, to get it in the sort of order we want it to be in when we're doing analysis. I'm going to talk about another useful function today, which is the rename function. So if you want to change the names of some of the variables in a data set, you can do that using the rename function. So why might you want to do that? Often when you import data, it could be your own data file, it could be data that you've got from somewhere else. When you import it, often variables have inconsistent names. The formatting in which they've been variable names have been created isn't consistent. So you might want to change it to something more useful. So that's what I'm going to look at today. There's a couple of other things that you will actually see as well, and I'll kind of we'll see how it goes, and I'll point it out at this stage that I'm currently in the previous videos. I've been working within a project that I created. So in an earlier video I showed how to create an R project. That's the project I have been using for all these scripts and videos I've been running. But you'll notice here it says R project none. I've not currently got any project running, and the reason for that is this will give some indication of when I'm recording this video. Is the recent kind of blue screen of death issues that took out half the internet. My laptop blue screened when I was actually using RStudio in that project, and it seems to have corrupted the project. So rather than sort of try to fix that or create a new project and import everything into it, all I'm going to do at the moment is just kind of keep recording these. But I'm just going to create each one as a separate script and run it. I'm not going to worry too much about the project, but it will raise some other issues, which if you've not created a project which is nice and neat place where all of your scripts relating to a particular project are held, including the path to those things, it can create your problems and you'll get some confusing messages. So we'll see what that means in a second. So in this video, I'm going to use the rename function. It's part of the tidyverse. So I'm going to start off by importing the tidyverse using that usual command, library, and then tidyverse in parentheses. As I've said before, it's a package. I've used it a number of times now. It's a package that I've already got installed on this computer. I'm going to pause and just keep talking for a second because you can see that command launched and the tidyverse is loading. I've not got my command line prompt yet. There, it's back. So, okay, so that's loaded up correctly. So you can see, as in previous occasions, that the tidyverse loads a series of different packages, and it gives you some messages regarding conflicts where you've got functions that have names in more than one package, that type of thing. So it's just something to be aware of. So what I'm going to do is in this video I'm going to import a data frame that's saved on my computer as a CSV, and then we'll kind of rename one of the columns, one of the variables in that data frame to make it to change it to something that I'd like it to be from what it currently is saved as. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to import that data. So I'm going to use the read.csv method or function, and I'm passing in parentheses the name of the CSV. It's called new long multi-level data file.csv, very catchy name, easy to remember. And I'm assigning it to an object called df. So I'm going to create a new object called df. But what's going to happen here is when I run this command, it's probably not going to work. Let's see what happens. So there you can see what has happened is if you look in the command line, it's saying, cannot open this file, no such file or directory. And that's because where I'm not using a project, I haven't set the working directory that I want RStudio to look in. So the current path that I'm working on here, it's not pointing to the correct folder that I want to be in. So I'm going to resolve this in a real quick way. There are different ways to do this. But if I click on the Files tab over here, and these are showing you a load of different files saved on my laptop. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the file that I want to put it in. So it's under R. It was this data wrangling and visualization project. If I click again, so this is the actual folder that I've been I created it as an R project originally, but like I said, that's been corrupted by recent. So when I try to launch this, it doesn't work at the moment. It tells me there's some sort of issue with it. So this is the file I want to be in, and you can see the path is now kind of set to that. And what I'm going to do is, if you look at the cog icon here, the settings icon, if I click on that, I'm going to click set as working directory. Okay, and you can see what that has done. You can see the actual, I've used the GUI to set the working directory, but I could have just typed this particular command here with the path into my kind of script or into the command line and just run that. So it's now set the working directory. If I run this command again, it should now find that data frame, which is saved as a CSV file. There it is, there in that particular folder. So okay, so that's worked. That I just wanted to highlight that as a potential issue. You might come across this and it'll be telling you it can't find the file that you're talking about. It doesn't exist, and you know that it does. It's telling you you're not on the right path, essentially. That you're not. It's not. You've not set RStudio up, or the script, or the environment you're working in. It's not set to look in the correct place. Okay, so DF is this data frame I've just imported. You can see it's got 364 observations of 8 variables. If we click on head for DF, it gives a series of, it shows us the different variables and the first kind of 6 entries. That gives us the variable heading, the name, and the first 6 entries. And if I do view DF as well, we get the usual sort of thing. It will give us that as a separate pop-up above. So what you can see here is we've got like this, we've got a variety of different protocols or conventions have been used for naming the variables here. So you've got what we might call camel case here, snake case here using underscores. We've got capitalization at the beginning of words, and then further on, what you're seeing here is starting dot value knows dot opponent. So what that is that's a little bit of an issue here, and you can see it if we look at them underneath as well. Starting dot value knows dot opponent. So in the actual file, if I opened that CSV and showed you, knows dot opponent would actually be a string knows opponent with a space. So a period has been used to replace a space. And the same with starting value. So this was a string for a variable name, starting value, 2 words. And because it doesn't want strings, it doesn't want the variable names, which are effectively going to be strings, to have spaces in them, because it can create errors. So what it's done is it's kind of changed the format of them to starting dot value knows dot opponent, that type of thing. So bit of a mess, that data frame, really. But what we're going to do is kind of use this rename function to tidy that up. So we want to rename the variables starting dot value and knows dot opponent. So we'll use snake case, so they've got underscores and they're consistent with at least some of the other variables. Personally, the conventions I would use when kind of naming variables is I'd use all lowercase and I'd use kind of snake case. None of them have been done in that way in this particular data frame, but not to worry. But what we're going to do is we're going to change starting dot value to starting underscore value and knows dot opponent and knows underscore opponent. Okay, so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new object, or we're going to overwrite the DF object. df, and then we're going to pipe in, use the pipe operator. We're going to do rename, and I'm saying new value is equal to old value. So you can see the old value is starting.value, the old value is nose.opponent, and all I'm doing is specifying this is the name I want it to have, starting underscore value, and I want it to replace the old name starting dot value. And then separated with a comma, I've provided effectively a list of the two variables that we want to change. So let's run that. And if we do so, what we get is it's printed out in the command line below. You can see it's printed out our data frame, or a large amount of it, and it's replaced starting dot value with starting value. And if we go down, because they don't all fit on the same row, it's replaced nose.opponent with nose.opponent. So that's what we wanted it to do. But interestingly, if we run this view df command and it brings up our data frame again, what we'll see is it seems to have reverted back to the original convention that it imported the names as starting.value and nose.opponent. So I mean, we wanted to change the whole data frame, but if you looked at that, it's changed the copy of it, which is printed out here, to the command line for us, but it hasn't changed the original frame, which the original object that we've got here, df. Okay, so it seems like what we've done is a little bit pointless because we then can't do anything with it. But what we would need to do is, when we create an object, we would need to give it a new name, so create a completely new object. So if we look here, what I've done is I've used the same command as take the df object and then rename these items. Yeah, so I've used the pipe operator, but I've not used any assignment statement here. Yeah, so I haven't actually overwritten it. You might think I have looking at that command, but I haven't, because I've not used the assignment operator. I've just kind of created a new copy. I've used this pipe operator to manipulate it, and it's printed that to the command line for us. So what we need to do is, if we wanted to change them on the actual data frame that we have here, so when we clicked on view to look at the df, they'd be different here as well. Then what we'd need to do is save them as another data frame, another object. I could have overwritten the existing one and kept the same name, so overwrite df to a new df, and that would work. But what I'll do is I'll give it a completely different name. So we'll call it df_2. So we'll call it data frame 2 to create another object. And then we're going to use our alt minus, our assignment operator. Okay, and what we're telling to save as df2 is we're going to say take the data frame df and then rename starting value and rename names opponents using the syntax we provided above. So let's look at that. Let's run that command. And you'll see we've got df2 here, new object created in our environment. And if we do view df2, this time what we will get is the names that we wanted to change for the variable starting value and nose opponent have been changed to how we want them to appear. So, you know, it might be a bit boring and laborious, to be honest with you, if you had a big data frame with lots of variables to have to manually change them if they were all kind of labeled inconsistently. All the features were inconsistently labeled, but that is one way to do it. That's a simple command that will allow you to do that. Okay, so that's rename. It's simple enough, really. There, you call the function. I've used the pipe operator to do it. You specify the new name you want to use, and you set that equal to the name that it's replacing. Okay, we could have just used one here. We could have used two. We could have given a list of all the variables in df that we wanted to change the name as, such as pre-post depletion, rounds, etc., etc. Just been a lengthy list, but this was just real straight for purposes. So hopefully this was useful and interesting. It's just another way, another tool to be able to manipulate and tidy up your data sets so you can work with them effectively using a programming language like R. Okay, that's enough for this video, I think. I'll record another one shortly. Thanks for watching and listening. I hope this was helpful.